Hi again.
Technical difficulties. So we'll skip. You're going somewhere for Thanksgiving. You have
Yeah.
a normal, or maybe normal Thanksgiving meal. Will you know before you get
Moderately
there?
Normal?
Will you know before you get there?
Well, my mom just called and asked me what I wanted to make for dinner.
Oh,
I told her
okay.
I don't know. So I think I could know before I get there, but I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do normal Thanksgiving things, and that's what we're doing this year. I usually cook. Do you cook at home?
Yeah. We both.
And hold on,
like-
I maybe said that weird. I didn't mean to imply like Luann doesn't cook. Mike, do you enjoy cooking at home?
I enjoy it a little bit. You didn't see my popcorn post.
I did. Yep, I did. Your popcorn. Yep, we talked about that yesterday.
No, I like making things, but not necessarily all the time.
Okay.
So I have certain things that I like to cook.
Do you like to grill?
Yeah, I like to grill. It's fun. We've done that on Thanksgiving before and Christmas.
Mm.
So neither Luann or I are really like into cooking, and so for us that's more like this is something that has to get done, so one of us will do it.
Okay.
And it's not, we don't get really excited about I get to cook this dish or
Okay.
anything like that. So food is not a big huge deal in our house most of the time. So that makes like the food holidays, that part of it is not that big deal for us. So
I don't do that much grilling in the winter, because I feel like I can't get my grill hot enough. But I saw a friend of mine is the worship pastor at the East Side campus in Minnesota.
Okay.
And he has he posted something on Instagram a couple weeks ago. He has a welder's blanket that he
Nice.
puts on top of his grill.
That would do it.
So I've actually, I haven't done it yet, but I've been considering. I wonder what I wonder what a welder's blanket would cost, to retain the heat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I saw it,
That
I was
would
like,
work,
that's
though.
genius.
Yeah.
Because when it's cold, our food takes forever, and it throws my whole cooking thing off. Because I know how long things normally cook,
Yeah.
and they are frequently undercooked when I cook on the grill.
I think I have enough grease built up in the bottom of mine, but it makes everything really hot really
Nice.
fast.
Our grill, if I don't clean that, like, I'm surprised at the raging fire that takes place in my grill when that happens.
You ever singe your eyebrows?
I usually singe all the hairs on my
Yeah.
arms. Even during regular grilling, I manage to do that. So
Yeah.
anyway, so equipping. We talked about equipping this week, and we talked about a grateful life this week, and we talked about the YouVersion Bible app tool. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. How did, when you were growing up, did your church equip you? Did your church give you, like, what did that, do you even have a framework for the question that I'm asking?
I think so. Yeah, I would say I grew up in churches, like we moved quite a bit, and so some of the churches that we were at emphasized equipping differently than others. When I was in junior high, we lived here in Scottsbluff, and I actually was part of what was then the Church at Bryant, and even in our youth group, I remember there was an emphasis on you're not just called by God to come and sit in church services and come to youth group things. It wasn't really about attending. It was about learning to be. And other churches that I was a part of throughout my life have had that emphasis. In most of the places where I lived, that was a pretty heavy emphasis. And so because you're called to be something, not just be somewhere, what does that look like? And what can we do organizationally or as a church family to help you be what God is calling you to be? And that really for me is what equipping boils down to, is what is your part to play in the mission of Christ, and what can the church body bring to you in order to accomplish that. And so that's always been a pretty consistent focus in my student ministry and working with different leadership teams and everything from small groups to Sunday school classes, and that's kind of an undergirding theme, I would say. Because I really, we're not just called to collect people into the same places. We really are called to equip people to be what God's calling them to be. And I would say as a child, I didn't always understand that's what was going on, but I think by a consistent encouragement to seek God in Scripture and to learn from what was in the Bible, to allow Scripture to shape my life, and then beyond that to seek out like how could God make use of the way He's created me. I would say I've always been encouraged by the churches that I've been a part of to look for that equipping. And some of that came from that particular body. Some of that was encouragement to, for example, like especially in my high school years, I was really encouraged to go, like think about going to Bible college to continue to grow, not just in Bible knowledge, but in how to apply what Scripture said to my life, and how to gain some of the, now we call them soft skills. I never heard that word in high school, but that's what kind of the current language is. Just some of the relational skills that you have to develop throughout life. And so I was really encouraged to seek that type of equipping through Bible college. I know we talk consistently about encouraging people to get into a small group because that's an opportunity to be equipped.
Right.
We talk about we want everybody to go through the next steps because that's an opportunity for equipping to happen and for relationships to develop that facilitate further equipping. Because it's not like we go to the spiritual hardware store and buy the equipment that we need and then we just have it.
Right.
When we talk about equipping, it's more about a consistent growth in our ability to function within the mission that Jesus has and our place within that mission. That was a long yes.
Okay. Well, I feel weird. Like I've learned that I feel weird talking about my church growing up, because like for me to answer that question, did my church equip me? Like I want to say no.
But was that their fault?
Yeah. But I like one of the things I know about myself is I was just I probably didn't pay a lot of attention to things. So it's possible. I don't remember. like I went to youth group, we did all those, like I did all those things, but I don't, and so this is like someone from that, like one of my, I'm friends with with like my first youth pastor. So like he could watch this and I'm sure he might be able to rattle off like 40 million things. Well, yeah, John, we talked about this, and we talked about this, and we talked about this, and we did all these things. Um, I mean, I don't remember that. Um, I think if we're talking about equipping, like the phrase you used, soft skill, so the opposite of that is a hard skill. If we're talking about equipping, like I went to a class on how to read my Bible,
Yeah.
no, but there were probably lots of other things that were taking place that were teaching me to read my Bible, and I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Which is like which is the more subtle, and maybe even the more productive way. Not that classes aren't productive, because we offer things,
Right.
but I think, like, I'm wondering if there's a way to intentionally, sort of like accidentally on purpose, teach people how to do things.
Yeah, I think that's what Jesus did.
Mm.
He didn't gather. Okay, here's my 12 disciples. Okay, guys, sit down. I'm going to teach you something.
Yeah.
It was always as they were going,
Yeah.
as they were on the road from here to here.
Yeah.
Jesus stopped, and this is what he did. And I think, like, his teaching, his discipleship was in the course of living.
Mm.
And I think a lot of times, for people that have ears to hear and eyes to see,
Mhm.
that is the most effective. For people who aren't paying attention, it's easy to miss.
Yeah.
And that's like with equipping, when we're talking about this, there's two sides of it. There is what can we provide, but there's also, we can set the table, but you have to sit down and eat if you're going to get anything out of it.
Right.
And whether that's a class or as we're going on the way, every person has to take their own place in becoming equipped.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get, like, if I was playing soccer, I'm not going to get to be a better soccer player just because I have a great coach. If I have a great coach that gives me great information and I follow through on it and I work on what he tells me to work on, I'll get better. If he tells me all this great stuff and gives me all these great drills and I don't do them, I'm not going to get any better. And he's probably going to get really frustrated.
Mm.
There's both sides of this, and they have to be working in tandem, because I'm probably also not going to get better as a soccer player if I just go kick a ball against a wall forever. Now there's a certain level where,
Right.
when I was 6 or 7, learning how to kick a ball against a wall back and forth over and over and over, that was helpful. Not that much. I don't know why I'm talking about being a soccer player. I'm 45 years old. Probably not going to get any better, but regardless of what I do. But that's the point, is unless we exercise the gifts that we have and respond to the coaching and the teaching and the equipping opportunities that we have, we're not going to grow in any field. And so, yeah, I can see that was, like when I said, some of the churches that I was at had maybe a higher perspective of equipping. Maybe that was just me, kind of like you're saying. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine any church that actually doesn't want their people to be equipped.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine some do a better job of practically making that happen than others. And I think when we talk about discipleship, the model over the last, both of our lifetimes, has often been like a classroom type of model. And a lot of people do great in that, but a lot of people don't. And I think a working toward a model where we're learning as we're going is really, I think that's important. Because we don't put things into practice just in a classroom. We put things into practice in our day-to-day lives.
Right.
And so that's where we're going to be most likely to grow in ability as we're doing it.
Yeah, there was I don't know if it's a popular phrase anymore. It feels like it was popular like 5 to 10 years ago. Like, it was a Christian phrase, doing life together.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still might say that. But I just remember that was really like doing life together, being in relationship with other people, and looking for avenues to be able to make disciples and to be able to equip people. Like you said, Jesus did it as he went places, as they went. Like, they were just constantly looking, or Jesus was just constantly looking for ways to equip his disciples in the things they needed, not just for their role as disciples, like as apostles, I guess, but their role as Christians. Like, how do I grow in my relationship with God and grow in my relationship with others, is how I would characterize that now. Maybe that's doing life. But that's probably like how I would characterize that now. And it's hard because everybody does have a responsibility in the equipping piece. Like, I think it could be really easy to have, talking about soccer. Well, if my kid's not getting better, it's easy for me to blame the coach. And I mean, maybe that's true, but that depends on what your child is doing with what the coach says outside of the game.
Yeah, it really does. We have to take responsibility for our own, we would call it performance in soccer. We probably wouldn't use that word when we're talking about being a disciple, but when it comes to how we undertake the mission that Jesus has given us, there's a lot of responsibility that lies on my own shoulders for my own life. I can't blame, like, whatever churches I've been a part of in the past or am in now. I can't blame, the staff or the elders of a church. I have to take responsibility because, and even more so today probably, we have so much access to whatever information that we need. If we want to grow, we can grow. If we want to learn something, there is somebody online explaining that in a way that we can understand. It might take some work to find them.
Well,
but
that's it, yeah.
We have to we have to take advantage of that. There's so many resources in the world today, and they're increasing every day. I think my own spiritual laziness might keep me from growing, but a lack of available information or training or mentors, I don't think can ever be an excuse anymore.
Right.
For not growing.
Right.
And not becoming equipped.
Yeah. So this tool that we talked about on Sunday, the primary tool that we talked about on Sunday that we used in our teaching time was the YouVersion Bible app. And I know we've talked about that before. I know you like the backstory of how that app was created, and how that came about. Just something that a church kind of put together.
It's an exciting story of the church just not having like not being selfish, but really taking a kingdom perspective. There's a guy at church down in Oklahoma that developed this resource for his body and saw that there was a much wider application, and so kind of began to build out, and it became like a Bible that everyone can literally carry around in their phone, in multiple translations,
Right.
and then
Right.
adding multiple extra resources like reading plans and devotional type of things. And that could have all, like, somebody could have done that for their own benefit and probably made a lot of money, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They did it so that they could make a lot of disciples.
Wasn't
Not
it?
that those two are opposed
Right.
always, but
And that was one of the first apps that was in the App Store, right?
yeah, I
the
think
YouVersion
so.
Bible app, I think, was one of the very first apps in the App Store.
Yeah, I think it was very early in the sort of opening up the App Store kind of phase, where anyone can develop an app. And yeah, it was really early in that process, and this guy that was a very ministry-minded developer came up with, and I mean, that's a huge undertaking. And to get to where it's got now, I mean, I don't know how many millions of downloads they've, like, a lot of people have the Bible app.
Yeah.
In a lot of countries.
Yeah.
And it's very, very useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's developed into even a bit of a social media platform where people are connecting with each other over scripture, just like we would sitting down at a Bible study
Right.
in a small group.
Right.
I can do that with friends that I have all over the world via the Bible app and the interaction that we can have there.
Mm-hmm. So we've had it for a while. I mean, it's been around, I don't want to say forever. It's been around ever since the iPhone came out. And it's just something that we've talked about but haven't really taken full advantage of. So just in thinking about that, I decided last week that essentially I was just gonna write my sermon and have it be Bible app friendly. So my cues were all of the texts in the order that they were in, and I've done that again for this week, and we'll probably do it a few more times, and not because we want to show you how to use software or an app during our time, but maybe sideways, but try and get people familiar with a tool that is meant to equip you, because as I said on Sunday, when we went into shutdown or lockdown or whatever we called it back in March, conceivably those things could happen again. And what we don't want is people to not have access to being equipped, to not have access to content. And one of the things that we found this week, as we've talked about this tool, is we've had a number of people reach out to us. So how does this work? And I had a phone call this morning with someone walking them through how to use the app. We've had people, Pastor Joe talked to someone on Sunday after the 10:15, walking them through the app on their device. Somebody came into the office today and yesterday learning how to do this. And what we want to do is we want you to learn how to do this before Sunday. Because this isn't meant to be, our faith is not a Sunday only thing. And this tool is not just meant to be used on Sundays.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage you, like we did on Sunday, to get the app, add Westway Christian Church as a friend, and we are doing a 3-day Bible reading plan this week. Next week we're going to do a 5-day Bible reading plan, and we're planning to kind of do this for a while because we want people to build relationships with one another. And this is not just one more thing for us to do. This is a way for us to build relationships.
Yeah.
with God and with others while we're doing this. And we have, I feel like we've done I would say when I think about my church growing up experience, whether I was ignorant of it or not, I feel like we have made efforts to equip, and we just want to be intentional in that. So we have some things we want to do some things with children and student ministry, in equipping parents online, figuring out how that goes, how we can utilize the tools that we have. We did the write your own Psalm 136. Like, that's an equipping piece. Believe it or not, that's an equipping piece to teach you how to write scripture, and write down the things that you're thankful for. That's equipping. We're doing this winter clothing. I want to add the word food in there. I don't know why. We're collecting winter clothing.
We're not putting burritos in the pockets. No food.
No, we're collecting winter clothing for our local schools and for our teachers to distribute. That's equipping. It's equipping you, and it's equipping me to be generous and to be grateful for what I have, and out of that gratefulness, I'm going to be generous. Yeah. And these are I was just thinking, like, serving on a team is an equipping opportunity.
Yeah, because when you join a team, you're not expected to know everything that
Right.
team member needs to know. For example, in the children's ministry right now, we've added a number of new group leaders for everything from pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. And we didn't just hand them a book and say, here, go teach this. We're walking through a process of training and teaching, and that will continue even after they're actively leading the groups on their own. There still is growth that can happen.
Yeah.
And so we continue to train and equip, because groups continue to need different things from their leaders, and so leaders have to continue to grow, or the groups end up starving for something.
Right. And I would say, if I'm a teacher and I get handed one of those, and I get given material and I'm equipped how to use it, that's like, if I'm really paying attention, I'm going to see the kinds of questions that are asked in this lesson material, and then that should translate over into my own personal Bible reading.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to teach me I want to say in some ways, it's not in some ways, in every way. That's going to teach me how to read the Bible. Like to do that, to go through that process. And I think that's a real big mind shift for a lot of people, is I'm just teaching a Sunday school class, or I'm just doing this thing, or no, this is actually teaching me how to read my Bible, which is why we made the decision this week to lay out in YouVersion everything that we were going through, because I want to teach you how to read the Bible. I want to equip you in that, because someone did that with me, and Jesus changed my life because someone took time to teach me how to read the Bible. And I want to do that for other people, because I'm not a genius. I don't have a 500 IQ. Did I go to Bible college? Sure. But I had people teach me how to read the Bible.
Yeah.
And that was how I learned. And that's just then how I teach. And we want you to see that. We want you to enter into that space with us. So all that to say, this has very little to do with a grateful heart, and a lot to do with equipping. because that's I think making disciples is the core of who we are as a church. And a huge part of making disciples is equipping people. Because I think, we're not always going to have this. We're not always going to have the 10-15 if we go into lockdown again. Like, some of our gathering pieces could be changed.
Sure.
And we don't want that, but we also don't want 200 people. Oh man, I can't go to church, so I can't read my Bible today. Well, sure you can.
Yeah.
So let us show you how to do that. I'm done.
I think that wraps up pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, we want people to grow in their understanding of Scripture so that they grow in their relationship with God and allow Him to live fully through them so that other people can know who He is.
Right.
And that doesn't happen because you show up at a 10-15 and hear John preach, as good as it might be, or hear somebody else preach. That's a morsel, and we need more.
Yeah.
We can't live on, spiritually speaking, we can't live on a sermon a week.
I would love for our 10-15 to simply be an appetizer. Like something that just whets my appetite for Scripture.
This is your nachos for the week.
Yep.
It's a big plate, but you got to share it.
Yeah.
Why are we on food again?
I don't know.
guess it's lunchtime.
Yep.
So.
Okay, well, thanks for watching. We hope that you all have a great Thanksgiving week. I want to encourage you to participate in that clothing drive. I want to encourage you to write your own version of Psalm 136. I want to encourage you to download that YouVersion app and join in and get involved and engaged in all of the different ways that we are equipping you. And be on the lookout because we have more things that we're discussing right now to really make us more of an equipping church, because that's our desire. That's what I think God has for us. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you on Sunday morning at 10:15, if not before. So have a great week. We'll see ya.
See ya.